All right, we're on. Chris, thanks for coming to this. I don't know what you call it, maybe a podcast, I guess. And I think just to start, I thought it might be helpful, for people out there to understand what I got out of coaching, right? And just to be super transparent, I'm a coachee of Chris, and I got so much value out of it. But I put down 11 bullet points of how it helped me. So, number one, it helped me. It helped me on my psychology, how to manage the saboteurs of my thinking and foster the sage within. Number two is to have a general pal, brothers in arms, in dealing with the day to day and bouncing off ideas and challenging each other. Number three, upgrade my thought leadership on LinkedIn. I now post regularly. I now post regular articles on platform. Number four, increase my follower count. We were able to double my follower count. Between like when I started and then like towards the end of our session. Helped me develop my business development process. Taught me how not to be salesy and be more effective to my own style. How to go from a simple bullet points to a presentation. Improving my sales leadership, identify pain points, encourage dialogue, such as questions like, where are we on a scale of 1 to 10? Taught me how to utilize AI and chat GPT to increase my productivity. Number nine, how to also effectively communicate with family members and loved ones. Number 10, daily, weekly check-ins and challenges. Number 11, help me to develop the four personas on which to call upon in different situations, whether it's an Obi-Wan Kenobi's, the Chris Hemsworth, Steve Jobs, the Kanye West. What do you think about that, Chris? That's how you transformed my life.
Bro, you transformed your own life. I was just there to bear witness, right? I think, I'm very proud of all the growth that you've done, right? And let's be clear, you are already a talented and accomplished person, but you had fallen into a trap. And the trap was that you didn't feel like you were accomplished. You didn't feel like you were talented. You didn't feel that you deserved success or all of these things, which made you feel small, play small, and be very quiet and kind of just close in on yourself. And my job wasn't really to cook the dish that is Eric. It was just to say, hey, bro, here's a microwave. Just warm yourself up, right? Because the world has a bottomless appetite for what you have and what you can do, right? And if there's anything that I think I want everybody listening to this podcast video, this catch up between two old friends, like anything that I want them to understand is that the world is set up to make you feel small. And so you have to remind yourself day in, day out of just how awesome you are. And if you can build that into a practice, that is how you win. That is absolutely how you win, right? But it's too easy for us to fall into this trap of feeling like we have no control or we don't deserve what we have or we're imposters or all that sort of stuff.
Can we unpack that a little bit? Like, I think that's something powerful there. What do you say? We're in a world by default that just limits you. What is it?
The world by design tries to make you feel small because everybody with power benefits by exploiting you, right? Not paying you what you're worth, preventing you from getting promotions, right? Not like making you feel scared. Like these are all things that other people do to make you play small, not be honest, not ask for what you honestly deserve, right? Make you ashamed of what you've done, therefore making it embarrassing to tell people what you've done. Therefore, it's impossible for you to get market rate, a fair wage, time off, benefits, all these things.
That's powerful stuff. Like I never thought of it that way. I mean, I knew the world was tough, and like you got to put in a lot of hard work. But yeah, that's a very interesting perspective on that, on where things are.
Why is it interesting?
I think maybe some of us is just so busy with the grind, leveling up, stepping up, that we don't know that maybe perhaps. I think we just took it for granted that, okay, this is the life, this is the game, these are the rules. You just level up.
Yeah, The trap I think a lot of us fall into is that we are like in the high school rom-com where we are like the nerdy girl who is the best friend of the captain of the football team. And we think if we just do all the good work and grind and help him with the science project, that he will fall in love with us. But we all know that it's about getting out there and telling the football player that we love him and that we are going to be a great girl for him. But we've been conditioned not to ask. Instead, we think that we are treasure, that if we polish ourselves and become bright enough, that we will be noticed. But that
Do you think there are cultural differences? Do you think as Asians that's even more pronounced, or do you see that as a universal thing?
what do you think?
I think you know silence is golden, etc., etc. That's how it's brought up anyway.
Yeah, I think outside of America, they call it like tall poppy syndrome, right? I've heard the Japanese people call it the nail that sticks up gets hammered down, right? Do not stand out because you will be punished, or a calamity from destiny will make your life miserable, right?
Believe it or not,
Whereas in
I was told that by Ryan China calling several times.
yeah, but whereas in America, like the capitalist dynamo of the world, they say the squeaky wheel gets the oil, or the crying baby gets the milk. So if you are in a culture where you have to make a big noise to get what you deserve, but you were raised in a way of saying, hey, it's embarrassing for you to tell people what you want, then you will be overlooked and you will be resentful and you will hate yourself and feel like a coward, but also be unable to stand up for yourself at the same time. And that is, yeah, I love that you called that out about the Western Eastern thing, because almost all of business culture nowadays is dictated by a Western point of view. But we as Asians are raised with an Eastern mindset.
Well, I think you just kind of hit the nail on the head there for a lot of like Asian Americans, right, who are now kind of fighting the fight for more representation, for more opportunities, for more exposure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your view on like okay, like being in the creative industry, there are a lot of type B creatives, and I think we've just been told that just to accept the introvert that we are, or like just accept that we are quiet, or accept artistic. But I think I would argue now, I think more than ever, like it's important for type B creatives to learn more type A skills. Like to be more like to your point, like to be more assertive, to know how to sell, to know how to promote oneself. I mean, is it like should type be just like accept the way that they are?
Can you do me a favor and define to me what type A and type B creative are?
I guess yeah. I guess in essence, like I guess type B creatives is like soft, non-confrontational, like maybe a bit introvert. We just want to be in the dark. Being like being an artist. Like drawing up animation, or like making a song. Whereas I think like type A in this instance would be more like get ourselves out there, more vocal, be argumentative, promote ourselves and just be out there, like I guess it's like an extrovert. It's like another way of kind of distinguishing the extroverts and the introverts.
Yeah. With different personality types, I would suspect that there are different ways they define success, right? So it may be useful for us to just adopt like a common measure of success for type A and type B, and let's call it commercial success, right? And the idea here is that you can create content, but without distribution, it's hard to be successful, right? And so what you're saying in type A creative is that they spend time with intention thinking about distribution and creating distribution for their work via networking, via advertising, via self-promotion. Whereas a type B creative, from what I understand, is one who doesn't create distribution for themselves, and their hope is
Mm.
that their creative output is so good that somebody else will discover them and therefore lift them up. And I imagine back when, let's say, distribution or self-publishing methods were very difficult to have, like let's say Renaissance age, right? Let's say, like the Medicis in Milan were out there looking to discover the next greatest artist because there was no effective way to self-promote yourself, to do self-publishing, right? So people would have to go out and scout great artists and they would be discovered. But now you have to self-promote. Otherwise, there's very little chance you will cut through the noise and your signal will be lost, right? And so I think as time goes on, either a scouting function has to arise to support type B creatives, which it doesn't exist yet, nor do I understand how an incentive plan can be made to make it profitable and worthwhile for people to say, hey, I'm a professional artist scout. But they do happen, right? Like you hear about people discovering musicians or comedians in different nightclubs and whatnot. It is possible,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I think just to ride at the back of that, I find that I'm one of those that kind of benefit from, like prior to like getting coaching, like I just wasn't comfortable posting on LinkedIn. I felt like I had to, either had like something amazing, like something big before I put something out. And through coaching, like you were able to kind of change my perception of that. And right, so yeah, I felt that might be like one example where it worked for me in my case. Yeah, it's possible to change.
What you're talking about is very much a good is the enemy of perfect, and you are looking for the perfect thing to write on LinkedIn to, I don't know, to book a big consulting gig or get a job or to win the Nobel Prize for music adoption or something, right? But that perfection, that perfect piece of content doesn't exist, but you were looking for it because there was a mindset where you were just thinking, I can only post if this is perfect and like definitely not controversial, doesn't make anybody feel awkward, etc. And that was holding back other people from knowing what you can do, right? Because the job is for you to let as many people know what your capabilities are so that they can say, holy crap, I need somebody who does exactly what Eric does. But if you do not have the habit of broadcasting in the world the kind of work that you're good at, it becomes very difficult for people to find you, and then you have no one to blame, right? The other thing that I find kind of holds people back is, Eric, you and I, we've worked for a big company on big projects, but we are not the only person that worked on things, right? Like I have done a lot of esports things, but beyond me or behind me or supporting me were teams of people. And so there's also am I misrepresenting the truth in saying, oh, I did this, right? And not mentioning everybody on there. And that is a nuanced thing where you can mention the other people behind you, but at the same time, not to downplay your own amazing contribution, your own unique experience, the ways that you contributed that made, let's say KDA Seraphine unique, better because Eric was involved versus KDA Seraphine without Eric, which is a darker timeline that I'm glad that we never saw via Doctor Strange in the Mouth of Madness. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, makes sense. I totally get it. And I guess just for the people like out there, like who do you like? Who would be like the typical avatar? Let's just call it avatar people that you think you might be able to help them grow. Is there a specific type that you look for? Foster that kind of, call it partnership, if you like, coachee relationship.
I think the specific kind of clients that work best with me are people who have achieved a lot but still don't have a voice, right?
Ooh,
Um,
wow. Okay.
and that's almost everybody in the gaming industry, right? Because we're too scared to speak up for ourselves. We're too scared to speak up for our own promotion, to ask for work-life balance, to say, "Hey, I think we shouldn't go this way," even though we have a lot of experience in the business, right? Because we've been taught again, don't rock the boat, don't make waves. It's dangerous, which is inaccurate because once you hit a certain level, you're supposed to rock the boat. You're supposed to make waves. You're supposed to tell people, hey, here are opportunities we're missing out on, or here are risks that we do not need to take. Let me show you how we can de-risk our situation here. But like when you don't do that, opportunities go by, you get resentful, you get sad, you start grieving, you start being really frustrated for yourself. And that's when I come in and remind people, not teach people, remind people how awesome they are and help them find their own voice and champion themselves and go out there and get the things that they deserve. Right?
Mm.
Um, how did all that work for you?
No, that's great. I think, yeah, I have nothing but good words, about. Yeah, on the flip side, do you see any kind of missed opportunities? Do you see people that, I don't know, like try to piece things together through YouTube videos, and then they don't get the information?
I love it when people try to teach themselves and put stuff together via YouTube videos. I think that's very important because if you're a proactive person, nobody gets it right on the first try. But if you try to do it on your own, you struggle. You learn a lot. You learn a lot. Like I have maybe two garbage bags full of really ugly bread, right? Because I've just been YouTubing my way to learn how to make bread. And it's fun and I learn more deeply from it. But the challenge is not that you can't do it, is that it's slower, that you don't know what is the important part and what is not. And you end up flailing and wasting a lot of energy, right? And so working with somebody like me, they can get to where they need to go faster with less fear. Because when you're trying something new, imposter syndrome, anxiety, like especially performance anxiety, they just kind of sneak in saying, hey, why are you wasting your time? You're not good enough to do this anyway, right? Like, if you were good, you wouldn't have to do this. All this negative self-talk, saboteur energy, when we are starting something, when we are waiting, when we are procrastinating, those are when the voices in our head get loudest and tell us, hey, you deserve to lose. Don't even try. And if there's anything I want to fight, it's just that sense of learned helplessness, right? We are not helpless creatures.
And I think one of the takeaways for me personally, anyway, is that which I've done it earlier. But I think not to be too hard on myself. I think I have to go through that inertia. It's like, hang on a minute. I think I'm kind of going nowhere. I think I'm kind of having a negative self-talk. I think I'm doing this. Okay, let's do it. I had to go through that kind of realization. It's like, I think I need help.
And we all have those moments, like even you and me, man. Sometimes I'll just be like, hey, I am stuck moving this conversation forward with this person. What do you think I should do? Right? Like you've seen those messages from me, like asking for help. No shame. In fact, when you're asking for help, it's when you realize that you're at a growth point, and when you conquer this thing, you're going to get better. And if you need help, who cares? The important part is that you conquered this thing that was hard before. Therefore, you're expanding the realm, your range of capability, right? And how beautiful is that? So even me, when I am stuck, when I want to procrastinate, when I am in the grasp of terror, I reach out to you still and say, hey, how do I move this forward? And I think I did that as recently as like a week and a half ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how much self-limiting beliefs that we have. Like I think one of the areas, if you remember, was where I was hesitant to just hit up anyone on LinkedIn, and I think you helped me overcome that by saying, I don't know. I forgot what you said, but something like, just don't leave anything don't leave any stone unturned. Like you just never know what this contact might lead to. Someone who might know someone, and that could like lead to something. You just never know. I felt like I had that paradigm shift. At the time.
You never know if they're waiting to meet somebody like you. You never know, right? The other thing is, regret is infinite. And I would rather you regret reaching out to people than not reaching out to people, right?
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. Mhm. Cool, man. So, like, Chris, anything else? Do you see uh, how else would any kind of creative type that you think that is that you see any kind of common patterns like a creative type might be facing that maybe that you might.
Here's my thought. My thought is that creatives build up portfolios and use them as a weapon to get gigs and interviews,
Yeah, yeah,
right? But it's very much a false field of dreams analogy where they say if I build it, people will come. They invest in websites and portfolio sites and ArtStation and DeviantArt or what have you, right? And I'm sure that there are analogs for musicians like SoundCloud, I imagine.
yeah,
But
yeah,
if
yeah,
people aren't going there, it don't matter, right? They're waiting
yeah.
to be discovered, but they're not putting their work in a place that's easily discoverable. So, what I tell a lot of creatives is take your art and separate it out and share it everywhere. Share it in social media as separate posts. Put it in your DMs, right? Like say, like, hey, I think that if I was a creative artist that was a graphic illustrator and I had a good relationship or had just a burgeoning relationship with somebody, I would ask, hey, can I ask you a weird favor? I'd love for you to give me your opinion on what I'm doing.
I
And that's
I
it.
I, I I love that because like for a while like technology or technical people are always accused of saying, oh yeah, if you build it they will come. But then I think creatives are just as the same. Where it'd be like, hey, here's my portfolio. It should speak for itself. Come to me. Yeah.
Yeah. But that click to get somebody to go to portfolio is really hard to get, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I think a lot of portfolios are poorly written anyway. Right? But I think that is a very subjective kind of conversation that needs to go with each and every one. But it's a distribution play. It Again, your portfolio is not a distribution play. How do you distribute your portfolio? How do you distribute the atomic concrete pieces of art that demonstrate your expertise? How do you distribute and socialize that out so that it gets closer to your next art director, creative director, hiring manager, music agent, any of those things, right?
That's
Like
so true. I mean, yeah. Like you're not really having a conversation if you're not having a call or or meeting this person on a conference. Like that portfolio is
you're
not
not
like
having a
that's
conversation if you're alone, bro,
yeah,
right? And the more conversations you get, the more successful you'll be.
yeah, 100%. 100%. So get yourself out there, set up as many meetings, set up as many calls, do more create like thought leadership out there.
And maybe even be topical. When I say topical, there's always stuff
Ah, what does
happening in
that
the
mean?
world.
Okay.
There's always stuff happening in the world, right? And if you talk about how that impacts your art or what you support, etc., that also gives you more like not status but credibility in the world, right? And I think about it as the more energy you put out in the world, the more likely luck will find you. It's like how do you invite serendipity to into your life, right? And serendipity is an unplanned, fortunate situation, and you want to have as much serendipity as you can. And the only way to do it is to increase your surface area and put more stuff out there in the world. Like, I have former coworkers at Riot who think of me as the most prolific guy they know on LinkedIn. And I tell them, yeah, LinkedIn is my favorite video game. I treat it as a video game, right? Because the more successful I'm the more successful I'm on LinkedIn, the more cool people I meet, the more people I'm able to help, the more great conversations I have, and yes, the more business I can develop. Isn't that a wonderful thing?
Mm.
Right?
This might be a slightly off topic, but when do you know that maybe you should branch out to another platform? Or should you
I'm
even
only on
branch out to
LinkedIn,
another
so
platform?
I mean, it's subjective, right? If you think like there is the if you think you're doing everything you can on one platform, then go to another. Great. If you think that your content is equally suited on multiple platforms, then like figure out a workflow so that you can manage multiple platforms with the same amount of energy, because everything takes energy and you only have so many minutes in the day, right? But it pulls back to like what's your strategy, what are the kinds of people you want to meet, or the kind of audience that you want to know of your work, right? And it's just
Yeah.
like podcasts, here we are. Not many people watch or listen to podcasts, but those who do spend a lot of time and will think deeply about it. So this is a quality, not quantity play, versus something like Threads, right? Threads is a quantity, not quality, because low attention span theater. Everybody will be there for a low amount of time, right? And for me, LinkedIn is high trust. High trust. Everybody there trusts each other because we're all using our real names, right?
Yeah.
With a real work experience, etc. So for me, the most important thing about my social media habits is I want to work and talk to people who I trust, and I want them to trust me. And there is a minimum shared sense of vulnerability that we have to have there, which on the opposite side of the spectrum is at Twitter, right? I refuse to call it the other name, Twitter, where I think that the anonymity there kind of makes it hard to have high quality conversations because trolls are going to troll. And I choose not to participate. Other people like that kind of environment, and that's okay for them, and that's okay for me, right? But yeah,
Okay. Awesome. So, Chris, let's say I be creative. How can people?
I'm sorry you broke up. Can you repeat that last question, please?
Geez. So let's say I'm a type B creative. I'm ready to make that change, make the leap. Where can people find you?
Oh, find me on LinkedIn under Chris L. Tran, or my website is christran.gg. So www.christran.gg.
Awesome. Cool. And lastly, anything else that you want to share or communicate out before we wrap up this little of ours?
A lot of us are waiting for permission to share with the world what we've done, what we're proud of, right? We feel cringy, we feel ashamed. We feel like, oh, if we were really good, somebody else would discover us. And I'm here to tell you that's incorrect. If you are waiting for permission from somebody to tell you to share what is good about you, your career, your expertise, your mastery, I'm giving you permission. You have my permission to show off, to impress the people around you. And if people flame you or give you grief on LinkedIn, tag me and I will show up and I will explain to people why they're wrong and why their toxic attitude is making the world a worse place. So I give you permission to be proud of what you've done, and I'm asking you to share because we are all poorer when you don't tell us how awesome you are.
Damn, fire. So on that note, okay, let's wrap up our chat. Thank you so much, Chris, and I'll see you around.
See you, dude.